Ryu tilted his chin slightly, sweeping his gaze over them, saying, "I've gathered you here to share crucial information. Information that is classified. Information that should not, must not, be divulged to anyone else." Someone whispered aloud. "Classified?" A ripple of murmurs ran through the room. Questions buzzed in low tones, unease mixing with anticipation. And then Ryu dropped his bombshell, saying, "I have information about the next round, and I intend to share it with you all." The hall froze. The whispers died instantly, cut down as though by an invisible blade. Silence stretched heavy, punctuated only by the faint rustling of robes and the sound of someone swallowing nervously. The next round. Knowledge of it beforehand was something no one had dared imagine. And yet, here was Black Scythe, declaring it openly. He continued, his tone calm and steady, almost too casual for the gravity of his words. "I know you're curious about the source of this information. It's simple. When you rank first in any region, you're rewarded with a special selection box. One of the rewards is information about the next round. I've occasionally chosen that option to make my path easier." Gasps echoed through the hall. Among the listeners, Min Juri pressed a hand to her lips. Her eyes widened, shimmering with realization. She whispered, awe flooding her voice. "Ah, so that's how Black Scythe was always so insightful about the rounds." She had admired his uncanny foresight for so long, wondered how he managed to always be one step ahead. Now, at last, the mystery unraveled. Ryu let the silence linger, then spoke again, his voice deep with conviction. "I'm revealing this now because I can no longer stand by while players continue to die. That is why I intend to share the strategy for round 13 with all of you so that we may survive." Together, the words struck the crowd like lightning. To sacrifice his own advantage, to give up the edge that had carried him so far, just so others could live? "Ah, Black Scythe," murmurs rose, this time filled not with suspicion but reverence. Some players even clasped their hands together, moved beyond words. Behind the mask, Ryu allowed himself a secret smile. He declared, "I hope you all survive for the 16th round." And then he began to share the strategy. Far away, in a realm untouched by mortal hands, the angels gathered. Their radiant forms shimmered with light, wings outstretched, faces grave. "Sariel has not returned. We suspect that he is dead." The announcement fell like thunder. Gasps of horror, cries of disbelief filled the chamber. Some angels clutched their chests, their voices breaking with grief. Others, however, sneered. One said, "Humph, I saw this coming." The voice was sharp, dripping with scorn. It belonged to Raguel, the Archangel of Justice, ranked 5th among his kind. His eyes glinted with disdain. If the 7th-ranked angel fell, it's no surprise that the 6th-ranked would as well. His words cut the chamber like a blade. Angels flinched, their eyes narrowing at his arrogance. Raguel scoffed again, his voice laced with bitterness. What was Michael thinking? Deciding that one angel would be enough? The insult was bold, too bold. "Raguel," a stern voice rang out, resonating like a bell of authority. Gabriel, his expression carved from steel, glared at him with burning eyes, asking, "Are you criticizing the Archangel of Archangels simply because he is not present?" The warning struck hard, and Raguel fell silent. His jaw tightened, his wings twitching with suppressed anger. But still, he could not keep from muttering, his face twisted with resentment. He hissed, "Am I wrong? We've gone from 7 archangels to 5 because of his poor decision. This was clearly a misjudgment." His words hung in the air, poisonous, undeniable. And for the first time, even those who would normally silence him said nothing. January 1st, 2023. A brand new year had begun. In the real world, people would be writing down resolutions, swearing off cigarettes, making promises to hit the gym, or vowing to study harder as the bell tolled the new year. But here, none of that mattered. For the players, such dreams were luxuries of another life. Here, there was only one resolution, only one promise worth making: survival. Ryu stood in the vast, colorless void, his sharp eyes scanning the empty horizon. The lifeless gray stretched endlessly, suffocating in its sameness. After 12 rounds, the space had long since grown tedious to him. He exhaled, the sound closer to a weary sigh than a breath. He thought, as expected, round 13 begins once again with the new year. His gaze swept over the sea of faces. Nearly 10,000 people stood around him, some whispering nervously, others fidgeting in silence. Yet, compared to the countless bodies that once crowded this place, this was a shadow of what used to be. The corners of Ryu's mouth tightened and he said, "To think the number of participants has dwindled to just this much." Round Round 12 had been merciless. The Cave of Trials, a round that demanded a summoner, had reduced the once mighty army of players to scraps. 3 out of every 4 had perished inside its depths, he thought, his jaw clenched. Too many died, and there was nothing I could have done about it. He knew it was true. He couldn't have explained every strategy to the thousands who stood before him. He couldn't hold their hands through every trap. They had been doomed the moment the trial began. But this time, things would be different. He said, now that the numbers have decreased, it's time to look after the others, not just those close to me. At the very least, he would protect the followers of the Death God cult. For their sake, he had already revealed the strategy for round 13. His mind ran the calculations again, saying, if half survive this round and half survive the next, we'll still have around 2,500 left. But then his eyes darkened, because he knew what was coming. The true problem was round 15, a cursed round that allowed only a quarter of the survivors to pass. A meat grinder. Even if 2,500 entered, barely 600 would crawl out alive, and in truth, less than 50 usually survived. He added, that's why round 15 is the most crucial of all, aside from the final round. His fists curled tight, and he said, I must save as many people as possible in round 15. I won't allow a shortage like in round 12. He resolved it there and then. He would save all 600, because the more survivors he had when facing the final boss, the better his odds. Ryu added, we have no information about the final boss. Numbers will be everything. That's why I'm focusing on the Death God cult, and why I must also prepare for round 16. Korean players in particular had to survive in strong numbers to clear the 16th round. For that reason, Ryu had released the round 13 strategy guide publicly. If followed, every Korean player could clear this round without difficulty. He thought, if all goes well, every Korean player might survive this round, but his preparations hadn't stopped there. He had also shared the strategy with players outside Korea: Christine, Jeffrey, Russell, Victor, even John Delgado. Then a voice came out, Black Scythe! The voice snapped him from his thoughts. A woman walked toward him, Minjuri. Ryu said, you're here? Death God cult follower. She scratched her cheek, smiling awkwardly. Ha ha ha, it feels strange to be called a follower. Please, just call me Democracy, like usual, or you can just use my name. He shook his head. Minjuri is less comfortable for me than Democracy, she asked, a little surprised. Is that so? Her lips curved into a soft smile, but her eyes followed his gaze toward the other participants. Though they were technically competitors, there was a strange bond among them. After 12 brutal rounds, anyone still standing couldn't help but feel a sense of comradeship. Juri said quietly, it's New Year's, and instead of watching the sunrise, all these people are trapped in a survival game. It's kind of sad. Ryu glanced at her and said, that's pretty sentimental of you. Her cheeks puffed in indignation, saying, are you saying I'm not usually sentimental? He replied flatly, I never said that. Not in the mood to argue. Ryu turned his head and spotted Seo Arin and aged man Noge walking toward them. Arin called, her voice bright. Black Scythe? Ryu asked. Are you upset you couldn't see the sunrise too? She inquired. Huh? What do you mean? He explained calmly, because of the time limit. None of us could have seen the sunrise anyway. By the time we return, it'll already be 10 a.m. Arin's eyes widened in realization. Aha! I get it now. Did Democracy want to see the sunrise? Juri fumbled, her cheeks heating, saying, I never said that. I just... Arin teased, leaning closer. Who did you want to see it with? A boyfriend? Juri blurted, flustered, saying, I don't have a boyfriend. Arin said, huh? Someone as beautiful as you doesn't have a boyfriend? Juri said, don't joke around. Arin replied with a sly grin. I'm not joking. The group's laughter grew, but Ryu stayed silent, his mind elsewhere. He asked himself, by the way, how's the necromancer doing? John Delgado, his slave. Ryu had given him one crucial command: avoid meeting any other apostles in this round. He had no choice. The Messiah's group had set their eyes on Jeffrey. They wanted him, needed him, and if they captured him, things would unravel quickly. But Ryu had already accounted for that. He said, they probably plan to capture Jeffrey in this round for interrogation, but it won't happen. I already know their plan. Only John, who had been in Jeffrey's party, could track his location. By ordering John to deliberately avoid the apostles, Ryu had shattered their strategy before it could even begin, even if it meant John would earn their hatred. Then more voices called out, Black Scythe! Eom Jun-seok, Ju Seong-tak, and Yamti approached. Then Christine, Jeffrey, and Jo Yong-ho's group arrived too, swelling the crowd even further. When Jo Yong-ho came, he wasn't alone. Over 30 mercenaries flanked him, every one of them Korean and a sworn follower of the Death God cult. Ryu watched them gather Dealer, arms crossed, saying to himself, as expected from the mercenary king, all I did was win over Jo Young-ho, and now I have all his men on my side. Not bad. The chatter grew livelier, the mood brighter. Yet all conversation stopped the moment the angel appeared and said, "Greetings, humans." Its voice was mockery itself. The angel added, "You've come back once again today, I see." Everyone glared. They had no choice in the matter, and the angel knew it. It laughed, its wings spreading wide, saying, "Oh dear, there are fewer than 10,000 survivors across all zones. Last round was a bit tough, wasn't it? But don't worry, in a few more rounds, that number will drop to double digits in no time." Thanks to our friend who supported the channel financially in the previous video. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and support the channel financially.